It is virtually impossible to always be right in all situations. However, there is a wonderful tool to use for the next time you feel someone has done you wrong, whether it's a spouse, child, family member, neighbor, a fellow worker, or anyone else at all for that matter. It's called the pillow method theory. This theory from the third edition of Looking Out, Looking In reflects the many ways it can aid in increasing empathy or to find merit in another person's position. Hello, and welcome to this educational and informational presentation on today's topic, the pillow method, a tool for building empathy, brought to you by Angeli Kurtosi and Barbara Piasecka. We will also be taking a closer look at the theory in general and practical applications in today's society. Enjoy. As mentioned earlier, empathy is the main function and purpose of the pillow method. It is the ability to project oneself into another person's point of view in order to experience the other's experiences and thoughts. There are also 3 dimensions to empathy, including perspective taking, in which you put your own opinions to rest and take in others' points of view. Second is emotional aspect, where emotional states of others are experienced, such as joy and sadness. And thirdly, genuine concern, which is when individuals empathize and go beyond just feeling and thinking and truly care for others. Empathy is really an important and useful communication skill and may be challenging during a disagreement. The pillow method, developed by a cluster of Japanese school children and later coined by Paul Reps, uses a series of steps to demonstrate a method of understanding problems from a variety of perspectives and eliminating the thought of I'm right and you're wrong. The name of the theory arises from the analogy that a pillow has 4 sides and a middle, just like most issues and problems. By working through each side of the problem and seeing each issue from each perspective, individuals should be able to find value in another's perspective. Position 1, I'm right, you're wrong, is the toughest position to get through, and the one in which most individuals get stuck when dealing with communication issues. It is when most of us default to when we view a new opinion or point of view and requires little or no effort for us to understand. Position 2 is you're right, I'm wrong, and it is when we play the devil's advocate and slowly begin to realize there are flaws in our own perspective and requires us to find strengths in others' opinions and may prove to be the most difficult task to accomplish. Position 3, both right, both wrong, is when individuals should acknowledge the weaknesses and strengths of both perspectives, each side containing flaws. Position 4 is the issue isn't as important as it seems, which is when individuals realize that the issue is made out to be bigger than it really was, and the fuel of the dispute slowly begins to fade away. Finally, position 5, there is truth in all 4 perspectives. It is located in the middle and is regarded as containing both right and wrong elements in all 4 positions. This does not, however, mean that an agreement will always be reached, but it provides an understanding of the opposite opinion. Practical application of this method is planning a wedding, one of the most important days in a couple's life and one of the most stressful that involves countless decisions and at times sticky situations between partners. Even with your future husband or wife, seeing eye to eye and agreeing on everything is not always possible. Different opinions, beliefs, and points of view are shared by each individual and may not necessarily be accepted by the other. That is when the question of how to proceed arises. When a disagreement arises, instead of arguing or fighting over differences, try to understand one another, try empathy, and follow the pillow method using the 5 steps. The first position is when you consider you are right and your spouse is wrong. This position is taken when discussing issues, and in turn, individuals find virtues in their positions and faults in those who disagree with them. In this case, the bride wants a bigger wedding with more guests and a more expensive total, which is because she was born and raised in a big family and had many friends, which makes her feel guilty if she does not invite everyone. She also has her parents helping her with the expenses. Meanwhile, the groom wants the complete opposite, a smaller wedding, more intimate setting, and a less expensive reception, which is because he believes the money they save can go towards other things, such as a honeymoon or future house. He also believes a more intimate wedding will allow for a better interaction with fellow guests. This is the perception individuals usually take and is the first step in avoiding an argument. This step is the switch of perspectives in which you presume you're wrong and your spouse is right. The ultimate goal is to discover the reason your spouse could behave in a way in which you disagree with. Referring back to the wedding planning example, the bride realizes that she does not have the funds to have such a large wedding, which would ultimately put them in debt and potentially postpone the buying of a house later on. The groom, however, realizes that a wedding is a milestone, and it should be everything you ever imagined, and can therefore count on the financial support from his parents. This position definitely requires courage and discipline, and proves to be the toughest to overcome. Thirdly, both individuals realize both are right and both are wrong, and attempt to find the strengths and weaknesses of each position, which helps to see the issue as not just black and white. Both bride and groom make accommodations to support each perspective, such as a larger guest list to include everyone and to make it a special event since it is so memorable, not over-exaggerating with money spending because it will put the couple in debt and will affect the purchase of a house in the future, which could also lead to increased levels of not-needed stress of the newlywed couple. Each individual must understand the merit in all points of view along with the flaws that each possess. Position 4, being the issue isn't important, is when the couple understands that the issue is not as critical as they thought it was, and the impact of events can decrease over time, along with the importance that can fade when other aspects of life are affected. In this case, the bride and groom should try not to get caught up in a disagreement with the wedding plans that will fade over time, since the wedding is just one day of their entire lives. This will release some tensions and can allow for them to concentrate on more important life decisions to come in the future, such as jobs, family, children, and living locations or housing. In the final stage, we recognize that each perspective has merit, which leads to less concern for individual wants and a shift to focus on collective happiness and compromises. This is when the bride and groom realize that each of the above perspectives have their own truth that won't necessarily result in a point of agreement, but will allow the couple to better understand each other. This will lead to positivity in the relationship and respect for one another, which will allow for easier wedding planning between both parties, because there will be a diminished egocentric attitude that can possibly produce negative feelings and emotions. By following these steps, arguments and misunderstandings can be avoided. A higher understanding for another's situations will be gained that can build an increased tolerance for their position, resulting in respect for one another. This method can also prove to improve communication skills between individuals and can allow for one to feel closer to their spouse. Thank you for your time. We hope you enjoyed it, and we hope you learned something new. This presentation was brought to you by Angelique Kurtosi and Barbara Piasecka. Thanks.